The scene opens with sweeping, cinematic shots of a serene river, its gentle current reflecting the golden hues of a late afternoon sky. The camera glides slowly over the water, capturing the natural beauty of the landscape as the sunlight filters through a canopy of lush trees. In the distance, a majestic bridge spans the river, its arch a timeless symbol of connection and passage. As the camera continues its deliberate pan, every frame is imbued with a sense of calm that belies the impending storm, a serene setting that holds within it the promise of dramatic change. A deep, powerful voice begins to narrate with measured intensity, its words resonating against the backdrop of the tranquil scene. In a moment of unchecked prejudice, on a quiet afternoon by the river, a shocking act unfolded, one that would forever alter the course of lives. These words echo across the landscape as the musical score, initially gentle and reflective, begins to swell. The harmonious melody gradually builds in intensity, each note hinting at the chaos and injustice about to shatter this peaceful moment. The rising crescendo serves as a subtle warning, inviting the viewer to brace for what is to come. As the music reaches a critical point, the camera shifts focus, intercutting between the natural splendor of the river and fleeting images that hint at an unfolding drama. Brief flashes reveal a man in mid-fall from the bridge, his body suspended in a moment of desperate struggle against gravity. The imagery is raw and visceral, a testament to the sudden upheaval of what was once considered ordinary. In another shot, a lone figure stands at the railing of the bridge, their expression a mix of shock and regret, suggesting that this is not the first time injustice has reared its head on these historic grounds. Further, the lens captures a young boy hidden in tall grass along the riverbank, his face partially obscured yet unmistakably determined. His presence, small yet significant, becomes a symbol of quiet courage amid the unfolding chaos. The juxtaposition of these images, the man's fall, the solitary figure on the railing, and the hidden boy, creates an intricate tapestry of contrast, weaving together themes of vulnerability, heroism, and the unexpected emergence of truth in the most public of places. Throughout this sequence, the narrator's voice continues with a measured cadence, explaining that while many acts of racism are shrouded in secrecy and occur in the shadows, there are moments when the truth and the courage to confront injustice break free into the open. Sometimes, in the most public of ways, the hidden truths of our society demand to be seen, the voice intones, carrying a weight that is both somber and inspiring. The camera slowly lingers on each of these critical images as the musical score reaches a final, resounding note of promise and tension. The visual montage not only sets the stage for what is to come, but also underscores the central themes of injustice and unexpected heroism. In that quiet river setting, where nature's beauty meets the stark realities of human prejudice, the seeds of transformation are being sown. Every detail, from the golden light dancing on the water to the fleeting images of turmoil on the bridge, invites the viewer to witness a story where courage emerges when least expected, ready to challenge and change the course of history. A quiet narrative unfolds as we explore the backdrop of a day that would forever alter lives. The story introduces a white woman whose prejudiced behavior is not born solely of individual malice, but is shaped by a lifetime immersed in privilege and cultural bias. Archival footage and subtle interviews with teachers reveal a figure raised in an environment where harmful stereotypes were silently passed down. Neighbors recall instances when her casual offhand remarks hinted at a deeply ingrained sense of superiority, a product of societal influences that taught her to view the world through a distorted lens. While her actions are harsh, the narrative treats her not as a caricature but as a symbol of a broader issue, a reminder of the systemic roots of prejudice. Opposite this figure stands the man who becomes the victim of an unthinkable act on a historic bridge. He is introduced not with sensationalism, but with quiet dignity. Brief snapshots of his life reveal a man struggling to make his way in a world that often overlooks the marginalized. His fall from the bridge, captured in slow motion against the backdrop of a flowing river, becomes a powerful symbol of how injustice can shatter lives in an instant. His vulnerability is emblematic of countless others whose stories go untold, reminding us that the consequences of hate are not confined to isolated incidents, but echo throughout society. Interwoven with these narratives is the gentle yet resolute presence of a brave little boy. In tender interviews with his family, viewers witness a child whose sensitive eyes and reflective demeanor speak of a wisdom far beyond his years. Raised with love and guided by the principles of fairness and respect, he embodies hope and quiet strength. His family's voices, filled with pride and gentle conviction, describe how he learned early that every person deserves dignity. This lesson, deeply instilled in him, sets the foundation for his courageous spirit, one that will soon challenge injustice in ways that few could have imagined. As these personal stories are woven together, the narrative shifts to a broader social and historical context. Archival images of civil rights marches and moments of public accountability remind us that the struggle against discrimination is a legacy that spans generations. These historical parallels serve as a powerful reminder that past battles for equality have paved the way for present acts of defiance. The setting, a busy public bridge over a gently flowing river, symbolizes a place meant for connection, yet all too often marred by human cruelty. Here, natural beauty contrasts sharply with the scars of prejudice, illustrating that even the most picturesque spaces can become arenas for profound injustice. This layered background not only introduces us to the key figures of the day, the aggressor, the victim, and the brave little boy, but also situates their stories within the continuum of historical struggle. It is a call to remember that every act of injustice is intertwined with the past, and every moment of courage contributes to the ongoing fight for equality and respect. The scene unfolds on a brisk afternoon by the river, where nature's beauty collides with a moment of unspeakable cruelty. The camera begins with a sweeping cinematic pan over the tranquil river, its surface shimmering under the golden light of late afternoon. Tall grasses sway gently along the riverbank, and in the foreground a young boy crouches quietly, partially hidden by the tall grass. His face, illuminated by the warm light, reveals a poignant mix of shock and concern that hints at an extraordinary event unfolding beyond his hidden refuge. In the background, the majestic bridge looms, its structure bathed in the same golden hues. The camera shifts focus to capture a dramatic and heart-wrenching scene on the bridge. A man is seen mid-fall, his body tilted downward as if caught in a desperate struggle to arrest his fall. His arms are outstretched in a futile attempt to grasp onto something, anything, to slow the inevitable descent. Nearby, a white woman, whose presence is marked by an air of cold detachment, stands on the bridge. The camera does not linger on her face for too long, but her actions speak volumes. A swift, deliberate push that has just sent the man into freefall. Another figure, positioned near the railing, watches with a tense, regretful expression, as though burdened by the weight of the moment, yet powerless to intervene. Slow-motion sequences capture every nuance with striking clarity. The rippling water below reflects the shifting sky as the man falls, while close-ups reveal the interplay of light and shadow that accentuates the gravity of the scene. The camera lingers on the small details, the delicate sway of the boy's hair in the breeze, the tremble in his eyes, and the ripple of shock that passes over the face of the onlooker at the railing. The tension mounts as the background sound fades, replaced by a building silence that seems to hold the very breath of the world. Then, in a heartbeat that stretches into eternity, the act itself unfolds. The woman's hand, caught in the motion of a final, decisive gesture, pushes the man. The brutal force of the push is captured in vivid detail, the sound of impact almost drowned out by the sudden overwhelming hush that descends upon the scene. For a brief moment it appears as though the entire world has stopped moving, the normal clamor of life reduced to a single, suspenseful silence. The camera returns to the young boy, his eyes now shifting from shock to a steely determination that belies his tender age. In this charged silence, his expression transforms into one of resolute bravery, a silent vow to not let injustice go unanswered. The dramatic pause after the push heightens the emotional tension, drawing every viewer into the weight of this life-changing moment. Every detail, the glint of sunlight on the water, the stark contrast between the gentle river and the violent act on the bridge, and the boy's shifting gaze, cements the scene as one where human cruelty meets the unyielding power of quiet courage. Bystanders on the bridge freeze in shock before scrambling to respond, their gasps of disbelief echoing in the air. Some instinctively pull out their phones, capturing the harrowing moment for the world to see, their hurried movements a mixture of fear and determination. The camera captures these chaotic shifts in real time, people rushing toward the scene, some attempting to reach the edge of the bridge, others trying to comfort one another. There's a sense of collective unease as the reality of the situation takes hold. Something horrible has happened, and there is no turning back. The boy, hidden in the tall grass just moments before, watches with wide eyes, processing the enormity of what he's just witnessed. But unlike the frantic movements of those around him, he stands still, absorbed by a quiet resolve. His eyes lock on the woman who has just committed the act, and a shift begins to occur within him. An internal determination starts to take root, as if compelled by something deeper, something beyond the shock of the moment. He slowly rises from his crouched position in the grass. The camera zooms in on his face, capturing the subtle transformation from innocent confusion to an unwavering sense of purpose. His stance is calm yet resolute. Every step forward is measured, determined. With the chaos swirling around him, the boy steps into the open, moving toward the bridge with the kind of quiet courage that seems to defy his age. The noise of the crowd, the voices of concern and confusion, begin to fade as the camera focuses entirely on him. His small figure cuts through the frenetic energy like a beacon of clarity. As he nears the bridge, he draws a deep breath and speaks, his voice clear and steady, his words piercing the tension that surrounds him. "Respect, please, now." The simplicity of his words is what makes them so powerful. In those 3 words he asserts not just his own dignity, but demands that others recognize and uphold the humanity of the man who was wronged. The effect of his intervention is immediate and profound. The crowd goes silent, their attention now fully captured by the boy. The woman, whose eyes had been filled with smug confidence moments ago, now falters, her composure cracking as the weight of the boy's words settles over her. Bystanders exchange shocked glances, some looking from the boy to the woman, and back again. The shift in mood is palpable. The sense of confusion begins to dissolve into admiration for the child who, without hesitation, confronted injustice when others hesitated. The camera captures the wide eyes of onlookers, many of them struggling to process what's happening. There's no denying the significance of this moment. A child has spoken up, and the world around him has paused to listen. As the boy's voice lingers in the air, the scene becomes a microcosm of broader themes of justice. A reflective voiceover from a community leader or civil rights expert could be heard in the background, commenting on the power of this moment. What this boy did today, standing up to something so wrong, is a reminder that justice doesn't always come from the people we expect. It comes from the courage of ordinary individuals who refuse to stand by when they see something wrong. The camera lingers on the faces of the onlookers, their expressions a mixture of surprise, awe, and admiration. Some nod, others smile, as the ripple effect of the boy's bold intervention begins to spread throughout the crowd. The boy's courageous act, though small in scale, has already ignited a spark of transformation. Through this moment, the boy's quiet defiance has not only held the aggressor accountable in that instance, but has reminded the community that every individual, no matter their age, has the power to create lasting change. The ripple effect of his courage is already beginning to make its mark. Whispered conversations, quiet nods of approval, and glances exchanged between community members signify that this one brave act has catalyzed something far bigger than anyone could have expected. And in that quiet, tense moment, the community begins to awaken to the possibility of change, sparked by the voice of a young boy who refused to stay silent. The immediate aftermath of the incident unfolds as law enforcement arrives on the scene, their presence bringing a sense of order and accountability to the chaos. Officers move swiftly, cordoning off the area and beginning to assess the situation. The camera captures the serious expressions of the officers, their every movement focused on ensuring justice is served. The woman, once filled with an air of superiority and entitlement, now appears smaller as the weight of the situation settles upon her. News crews swarm the area, capturing the unfolding scene, while reporters deliver updates on the situation. The cameras follow the officers as they lead the woman away, her resistance faltering as the severity of the consequences becomes clear. As the authorities move in, statements from police officers and local officials make it evident that this act of aggression will not be overlooked. News clips of the event air across local stations, with headlines that emphasize the nature of the crime, an unprovoked act of violence based on prejudice. The tone of the reporting shifts from shock to resolution, as it becomes clear that the community is not willing to let such behavior slide. Community leaders speak out, reinforcing the message that prejudice has no place in their town, and that the law must hold those who act on such hate accountable. The camera lingers on these leaders, who emphasize the importance of standing together to prevent such injustices from continuing. Their words underscore that while one act of courage may have prevented a tragedy in this instance, there is still much work to be done to eradicate the deeper, systemic prejudice that allows such behavior to fester. In the larger conversation about accountability, the voice of the community grows stronger. The incident quickly becomes a focal point for discussions on public responsibility and the role of individuals in challenging injustice. Community meetings are held, where citizens of all backgrounds come together to discuss ways to create safer, more inclusive spaces. The boy's actions are at the heart of these conversations. His bravery has sparked a renewed sense of unity and resolve, urging others to take a stand when they witness injustice. The camera captures these meetings, where faces, young and old, share their thoughts on how they can contribute to a more equitable world. Social media discussions spread quickly, with hashtags calling for justice and support for the boy. Posts are shared widely, with people from all walks of life commenting on the power of his courageous response. The symbolism of the boy's act resonates deeply within the community. No longer just a bystander, he becomes a symbol of hope, proving that even the youngest among us can lead by example. Educators, civil rights advocates, and local leaders come forward to praise his bravery. A local teacher, in an interview, shares, "What this young boy did was more than just stand up to an aggressor. He showed us all what it means to have a backbone, to speak out in the face of wrongdoing." He's a living example of what courage looks like, and he inspires all of us to act when we see something wrong. In a more personal moment, the boy's family speaks proudly of him, emphasizing that they've always known he had a deep sense of empathy, but his actions on that day were extraordinary. His mother, visibly moved, shares, "I knew he was a brave boy, but I never imagined he'd have to step up in this way. He showed us that one voice, even a young one, can make a world of difference." The community begins to heal, and the boy becomes a symbol not just of resistance, but of empowerment. His act of courage has ignited a broader movement, one where injustice will no longer be silently tolerated. Local leaders share their renewed commitment to fostering empathy, understanding, and respect across generations. And while the road to full equality is long, the bravery of one child has illuminated a path forward, where standing up for what's right is no longer an option, but an obligation. In the days that follow, the bridge where the incident occurred becomes a site of reflection for the community, a place where people gather to honor the courage of one small boy who refused to let hate go unchallenged. The camera lingers on these scenes, capturing moments of solidarity as the community begins to heal and rebuild, one brave act at a time. The story unfolds in a dramatic arc, one that began with a moment of unspeakable injustice, a woman, unprovoked and filled with hate, pushing an innocent man off a bridge. In that instant, the balance of life seemed forever tipped. But then, in the midst of the chaos and the fury, there was a quiet moment of defiance, a single act of courage from a young boy who had been quietly observing from the sidelines. In a moment of profound bravery, he stepped into the open, called for respect, and demanded accountability. What followed was nothing short of transformative. His words, simple yet powerful, shifted the course of the event. Where there could have been more silence, there was action. Where others hesitated, he acted. His courage became a catalyst for change. The community, once passive, found its voice, and the woman who thought no one was watching was forced to confront the consequences of her actions. The ripple effect was immediate and profound. A community, previously fractured, now united in its resolve to stand against injustice. As the dust settled and the ripple effect began to take hold, it became clear that this was more than just an isolated act of heroism. It was a statement that courage, even in its smallest form, has the power to disrupt hate, that even the youngest among us can change the course of history with a single brave act. The boy's intervention wasn't just about saving a man's life. It was about reclaiming the moral high ground. It was a call for all of us to recognize that we have a responsibility, not just to ourselves, but to each other, to ensure that hate has no place in our world. As the camera lingers on the moments of solidarity, on the faces of those who gathered to support one another, a voiceover reminds us of the emotional weight of this journey. In the darkest of moments, it is the light of courage that leads the way. Even when all seems lost, one brave soul can alter the course of events and inspire a generation to rise against the forces of hatred and intolerance. The boy's brave act, in its simplicity, opened the door to a world where justice could be sought, where accountability could be demanded, and where the community stood together, united against injustice. Now, as we reach the end of this journey, we are reminded of the power within each of us to drive change. Change begins with each one of us. Let us stand together against injustice and ensure that every voice is heard. The narrator urges. The camera captures the final moments, with the young boy standing at the edge of the bridge, looking out over the river, a symbol of hope, a reminder that we all have the capacity to be the difference in the world. If this story moved you, if it inspired you to stand up for what is right, then join us in spreading that message. Subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell for more updates like this. Let's continue to share stories of courage and change, and let's make sure that, together, we create a world where every voice is heard, every injustice is confronted, and every act of courage leads to a better tomorrow.